Hi friends, it's Aubrey from Crybaby Sentimental Homestead, and today is technically tax day. So I already filed my taxes last week. I did wait almost the last minute, not quite. Um, but I did want to talk to you about taxation and something that I became aware of. You may already know this, but when I was filing my taxes, I told the tax lady, it seems like, you know, even with getting like pay increases for my husband and I, that our take home is not anymore and we are getting less back. And she had a chart that has information. I don't have access to it, but you might be able to look it up. It's like 2023 um, tax breakdown or something like that. Anyway, long story short, she showed it to me and it said like from $0 to $19,000 combined income, you get taxed at like 10%. And then from 19,000 something to a certain amount, I think it's 89,000, you get taxed at like, it might be less than that, 12%. And then it goes up to 22% and 24% and so on. And so the first increment you get, basically that amount you get taxed at that rate. So as you make more money, obviously they tax you more. But I didn't realize that the increments were so close together. So like you make just a little bit more, and then that chunk of that money actually gets taxed at a higher rate. So that had me like contemplating, like I was looking at how hard do you try before you like get the next job up, or the next you work for that pay increase, right? But then you get into that tax bracket. Well, then you're only getting 3 out of $4. So for every $4 you make, you're giving almost $1 of those $4 away back to the government. And so that had me thinking. And our tax rates in Washington State are about 10% sales tax. Our taxes for our property went up last year considerably. And they also inflated the value of what they said our properties were worth, which were, the property, like if you're trying to sell your house in real estate, it went down recently, but they said it was worth more right before they did that. So we're paying higher sales tax, property tax, higher taxes if you're working to make a salary increase. And then also we have inflation going on. And so I kind of want to talk to you guys about ways around, like, not loopholes and things like that, but like ways around being taxed. And one of my favorite ways is to go to yard sales. I know that sounds cheesy, but you think about sales tax. Someday they'll figure out how to do sales tax on yard sales. I swear they will. But for now, there's no sales tax when you go to a yard sale. It's one of the things I really enjoy, is because whenever you go to checkout at a grocery store, there are some items that are taxable, like candies and sodas, depending on where you are. Seattle has a really high tax on soda, which we try not to drink anyway, but it's pretty high. So when I go to yard sales, there's no tax on that. They might figure that out in the future, but for now, that's pretty sweet. Like you're choosing items that are 50 cents a dollar, which you already know is a savings, but then it is what it is. You don't suddenly go up to the cashier and then they want more than what you thought, what you're estimating, right? Another thing I find very useful is gift giving. So when you give gifts, right? So you often go out and you buy, the items that somebody has got, somebody has asked for. But at some point you get to an age, like kids want specific things, but you get to a certain age where you have friends and family who like homemade items, or they're into certain hobbies that maybe you have a knack for. So nowadays, for myself and for my, like when I have gifts to give to my colleagues or my friends or my family, a lot of times I can give gifts that maybe I buy the pot at a yard sale or wherever, but usually I try to find something frugal. And then I reuse my soil and I build my own soil. And so then I try to repurpose that. And then I might plant my own seeds, and I get them seeds, I seed start, or I clone a plant. And then it might take a long time for that to happen, but I always have things in motion. And then, I often do purchase gifts, but it's one way that you can save a little bit of money and avoid taxes is if you are able to give gifts that are from homemade items. You didn't have to buy it, so then therefore you didn't have to get taxed on it either. So that's also very useful. Maybe you bake something, you bake goods, or if you have certain anniversaries or birthdays that fall when you have flowers blooming, you could do bouquets of flowers from your own garden. You can make things like I've made scarves and hats and silly things from like I crochet. So if you have some kind of creative hobby like that, my daughter is a painter. She has made all kinds of beautiful paintings that she's actually sold some, but she also give them as gifts. If you can make your own Christmas cards, birthday cards, things like that, you can use your stationery. Sometimes you're lucky and you will find deals where someone's getting rid of all of their scrapbooking materials. You can reuse those scrapbooking materials and make your greeting cards. So there are ways to like kind of feel like, yes, there's one place where I'm not getting taxed. And so while that lasts, it's kind of a nice way to feel like you've accomplished something. Like, I'm getting taxed everywhere else. Is there one area where I don't get taxed? And that's one of the cool things about gardening is that, you might have a membership to some place. Those memberships are taxed. But your garden, other than the property tax, your garden's not getting taxed. So when I save seeds and I plant them the next year, I don't have to pay taxes on my seeds because I already saved them, right? If I'm taking cuttings from a plant that I already own and I'm propagating it and I'm giving it as a gift, I don't have to pay tax on that. So on tax day, I'd like to just, oh my gosh, you guys, it's crazy. You got to look up that breakdown. I'm sure it's available online somewhere, but it's like the 2023, it's like a summary sheet of the brackets of like how much you get taxed on each increment of your wages and earnings. It's insane. I cannot believe it. I don't want to talk about salary and stuff like that, but combined income, that puts most people who are working at least 22% taxation. That is incredible to me. That's a lot. And then you pay taxes on your house and you pay 10% sales tax. Wow. It is like kind of where does it end? So, I think the middle class, lower middle class, upper lower class, we need to speak out to our representatives and tell them that this really is not okay. Like I've worked really, really hard to increase and be able to not even build wealth, just not live in debt. I can't get out of debt. There's constantly something going on. There's taxes, there's, medical bills. They make it really, really hard for a hardworking family to not live in poverty. And so I think that you guys need to speak out and contact your legislators and let them know that our sales tax is too high, our property tax is too high, our income tax is too high. Especially with the rising cost of living, that it needs to be adjusted considerably. That they should not be taking one out of every $4 or $5 that we make. That's ridiculous. We also have the horrible costs of our medical care and our premiums. We're required to have medical insurance. And if you're a state worker or a teacher or anybody like that, you have certain plans that you have to go with. They're very pricey and there's a lot of out of pocket. So I'm not trying to complain. It's tax day. Happy tax day, you guys. I hope you're getting a lot back on your your tax, your refund. We got a little bit less back than last year, but I was actually thinking I wasn't going to get anything back and I'd owe. So that was such a blessing. But definitely take a look at how you're being taxed and what scale you're at and so forth. And like my husband was even saying like, oh, I'm gonna work more hours and I was like, what's the point? I mean, you're gonna work more hours and you're only gonna get like 75, like it depends on how far he goes. But I was like, you're gonna be so frustrated when you put in all this time and effort and you're already tired, right? And then you're going to, only, you'll have to give 22% of that money back to the government. And how frustrating is that? Is it worth it to you when you're already tired? What are we living for? Like, you have to have some kind of life, some kind of freedom, free time and freedom. And if you are working, you don't get to enjoy all the things that you're trying to make money for. So you want to say you have all this money to give to your kids or to take care of your family, but you don't have any time to watch them grow up. You don't have time to see them meet their milestones. And you're doing all this, you're wasting time that you could be spending with your loved ones. Life is short. Okay? They say that the only couple things you can count on in life, death and taxes, and that's for sure. So we have to make time to have a good life. And it doesn't always have to be something that you pay for. It can be free stuff, time spent with somebody you love, thoughtful gestures, I think are so much more meaningful than things that you pay for. I hope that this hit home and made you guys think about it a little bit about how we're taxed and a few things away around taxes with gift giving, as well as like yard sales. For the time being, we'll see if they tax us later on that. But live long and prosper, everybody. Prosperity does not mean money. It means quality of life. God bless you all, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.